Hey everyone, Utah is a pretty cool place to visit for the winter. I went to Salt Lake City and Park City for about half a week and my experience far exceeded my expectations. Why? Because this is the first time I've seen snow this pure and fluffy. This is the first time I've been this close to the mountain while an eerie fog looms. This is the first time I've experienced complete silence, and so many other cool things. So, what are the exact cool things I've seen? Let's start with one of the things nobody knows Salt Lake for. The Grand America Hotel. Yeah, a hotel is one of the highlights of the Salt Lake. Why? Because during December, the hotel's decorations definitely stands out amongst everyone else. There is a giant gingerbread house that's really cool to take a gander at. It's ginormous and roughly the size of two dining tables stacked on top of each other. On top of that, there's a really cool diorama walkway that chronicles the 12 Nights of Christmas. Attention to detail is super crazy because of how small a diorama gets. And there's a lot of cool high-end shops here you can browse inside too. When it's not Christmas, there's these really fancy bougie art gallery you can admire, and you can even schedule a tour here. Overall, it doesn't take too long to explore everything, about 15 to 30 minutes total, but it's definitely worth a pit stop if you have the time. Now, let's go into what Utah is known for. No, not that. The other thing. Please have the water undergo a change of state from solid to liquid. Okay, there we go, close enough. Not what you expected, is it? Okay, so let's paint the stereotypical image of the Great Salt Lake. Happy, quaint, a beautiful mystical lake, people walking around. Notice how there's a big, bright, shining sun? Yeah, for the most part, I can see this happening during the summer seasons. Thing is, I went to check out the Great Salt Lake right before sundown in the winter. It's absolutely not what you expected. It's creepy, in a good way, in a very, very good way. To be honest, it looks like something out of a Silent Hill game or a horror movie. There is heavy fog that weighs the area down, and the lake lives up to its name. There's a heavy acrid salt scent in the area, so keep that in mind. The water is eerily still at this time as if it were pure glass, and there's no one around as far as I can tell. There was even a creepy cabin with a single light on in the distance. That turned out to be the gift shop, so you can still have contact with civilization. To be honest, this was a really, really cool, creepy experience. If you like scary or dark ambience, I highly recommend checking it out during the winter. But don't stay here for too long. There really isn't much else to do because of the insane amount of fog, and you can't take a dip in the water because of how cold it is. Remember, there's a lot of salt in it. On top of that, and I learned this the hard way, there's a gate that actually closes at 5 p.m. and it can potentially lock you in. So don't stick around. But if you want to shoot an indie horror film or have that feeling of it, this is the place to do it. An interesting fact is the Great Salt Lake is about 5 to 27% salinity. To put a reference point, the average salinity of the ocean is 3.5%. That is about 50% to 7.7 times more salty than the ocean, or about half the saltiness of losing any ranked video game match. This is one of the crowning icons for Utah, skiing and snowboarding. I can go on a huge separate rant about shredding the slope for beginners, but oh man, there was a reason why they held the 2002 Winter Olympics around Utah. There's a complete training facility around Park City, and they have the freshest, powdery snow I have ever seen. It's like the stuff of fluffy, airy, cold cotton. I don't see much snow in my life. The stuff that I see most often is like dandruff from a snow yeti, so it definitely is a huge change of pace. I went to Park City because it's the most advertised and had the most convenient location for a really, really cool activity I wanted to do. More on that later. There are other ski resorts in the area such as Alta and Snowboard. I talked with the locals and they definitely do recommend those over Park Cities for pricing and convenience. Honestly, it depends on which side of the mountain you're staying on and what you want to do. So if you plan to ski and snowboard in Utah, look up the routes and pricing. Being on the east or west side of the mountain matters a lot because there is a chance the tiny pass can get clogged with vacationers. Here in Park City, I bought my ski rental gear to the resort and, after a few warm-up rounds on the bunny slope, took the lift up to the mountain. And what I saw was absolutely breathtaking. Alone, I took in a completely dead silent view of the world and saw how small cities are compared to nature. The snow muffles everything to the sound of oblivion. Nothing could be heard. not even the sound of whirling lift motors or the wind. Here, at the top of the world, it's just you, your thoughts, the stinging cold of nature, and a void. If it's your first time skiing or snowboarding, it's liberating. I stood there, alone, a droplet in a limitless ocean, wondering about the world and about myself. Then you begin skiing and realize you're an idiot. Like a really, really big idiot. Not because of some deep, crazy introspection on the prospect of life. Shameless, honest plug right here. But because, how do I turn and brake? Widowmaker. That sounds like a death ski trail. I'm not ready to die yet. How do I get back to Drift Trail? Holy bejesus, I was not ready to leave the bunny slope. Then you wipe out. But hey, it was worth it for that moment of tranquility. I'd definitely go again, and so I did. Several times. And I wiped out. Several times. It was a miracle I didn't end up with any broken bones. That being said, skiing was not the highlight of my trip. It was this. I love dogs, right? They're derpy, and awesome, and bumping, and a complete foil contrast to the oblivion you feel up on the mountain. Did I also mention they're derpy? I booked a dog sled ride and I had no idea what to expect. When I got there, I was escorted up the mountain in a heavy-duty truck, and I got to see the dogs with the kennels. There's a single sled with a musher, and if you don't know, the musher is the person that handles the dog. They picked out a team of dogs, rigged them up to the sled, and before I knew it, I was sitting in the sled racked up like some kind of delivery package. Then it was like some kind of surreal frosty roller coaster ride. The kind that goes from 0 to 100 really fast. So prepare yourself if you ever do go dog sledding. I was launched across the forest and hills and mountains in a matter of seconds, gliding across an ethereal living landscape. It's a perfect contrast to being on top of the mountain. Instead of that sense of isolated inward reflection, you have the companionship of dogs and a musher around you. Something about that makes it feel like the traditional human versus nature stories. The kind that inspires you to keep moving forward, because there's always something to see, just barely over the sun-stained ridge. The musher is amazing and conversed with me about how my experience was, and even educated me on how they operated and the dogs' personalities. We even got to see some of their antics. And there's a wide variety of dogs from Malamutes to Alaskan Huskies. It was only about 1 hour long, but it was a thrilling 1 hour full of surprises and awe. After the 1 hour ride, I got to play around with the dogs at the kennel and saw their interactions with each other. They're instantly, insanely adorable and full of energy and absolutely cannot stay still. It's a good way to unwind a day, and if you're lucky, you get to see their raw nature side from a distance. Ooh. That being said, dog sledding isn't available all the time, and it does depend on weather conditions. Not sponsored by them, but I went with Bear Ridge Adventures. They're an awesome group, and I definitely would recommend to check them out if you're looking to dog sled in the Park City area. Link in the description. And oh yeah, I guess this is why I chose Park City as a ski zone, because I had the dog sledding stuff planned out. And since I travel off the beaten path, this is definitely a spot that is worth mentioning. Ritual Chocolate is a small chocolate shop in Park City, and I found it completely by chance while walking around looking for a place to eat. I literally just followed my nose because there was this super sweet aroma that attracted me from like a bajillion miles away. Ritual Chocolate isn't huge. It's about the size of a small restaurant. They have a window showing the chocolate making ritual as well. It's pretty lit, and I guess the best way to describe Ritual Chocolate is a cafe. There are small tables set around, and they have a wide selection of chocolate and coffee. Selection does depend on the season, but both chocolate and coffee are worth taking a look if you're into those type of things. I didn't get a chance to fully explore Salt Lake City and Park City. They're both lovely in their own ways. Salt Lake definitely did give off a metropolitan vibe without it being overly hectic like New York. It's a very calm area overall. Park City, on the other hand, gives off that rustic mountain town vibe, but it is a bit more touristy and a bit pricier than Salt Lake. Both of them offers public transportation, but Park City has a way more connected bus system. It's really easy to get from one part of the city to another. Both locations has friendly locals and scenes. But do be aware of what you're getting into. Weather can shift around and, well, I got lucky. I left right before a blizzard hit. I can imagine if you have things planned and then a blizzard strikes, well then, there goes your plan. And also, I went during a low tourist time. If hitting the slope right before Christmas, I imagine there's going to be major traffic. So be aware that my experience is skewed towards free mobility, which is awesome if you got the time. Overall, I really enjoyed my experience. I didn't know what to expect coming in besides skiing, and even that was broken in a really, really good way. The skiing expectation, not my back. I need my back for a lot of things. It's been a blast, and I'd definitely come back for the snow and scenery. It's a lovely time when calm, and it's everyone's prototypical image of an idyllic and serene moment with a warm cup of hot chocolate. Hit the like button if you found this entertaining, subscribe for cool travel and board game stuff. Constructive comments are always helpful, and as usual, thanks for watching. Why is there a random chair in the middle of nowhere? I mean, it's cool, but really random.